Hey, youth workers, welcome back to part 3 in my series on the 5 misconceptions of youth pastors and how to overcome them. If you're brand new here to the channel, first of all, thank you for stopping by and checking it out. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, and that way you'll get videos like this in your inbox on a regular basis. Now listen, we're covering, this is part 3 in the misconception series, I'm calling it, and it's possible that you may be perceived as somebody who cannot handle the pressure of ministry. And maybe it's because you're a young youth worker, or maybe it's because you're an older youth worker. There may be some ageism involved there. And or maybe it just has to do with inexperience or whatever it may be. But ministry and pressure are synonymous. There's always going to be pressure to produce numbers, pressure to do that event, whatever it may be. And one of the things I hope to achieve by the end of this video is to give you the confidence to face the pressures of ministry, work through it, and be able to look at people in the face and say, I can handle that. Before I jump in and talk about the 3 kinds of ministry pressures and how to handle them, let me talk to you a little bit about a resource I created that is certainly going to help you handle the pressure. This is my Youth Ministry Playbook 2020. It is jam-packed with forms, how to get your year started right. It's filled with articles. It's got places where you can, have creative space. It's got a teaching preaching schedule. It has calendars and questions and even a monthly to-do list. So if you're interested in that, there'll be a link down in the description below for the My Youth Ministry Playbook 2020. I hope that you'll check it out. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Ministry, like I said, and pressure are synonymous. There's just going to be times when you're going to have to deal with the numbers of your youth group or the expectations or the big event you have to pull off. And there's a lot of pressure in that because, you're being judged for being a youth worker and whether or not you can produce what you said you could produce on your resume. But it does happen to all of us. The pressure, and sometimes we fold, as in they say in the NFL. Sometimes we get exposed because we didn't handle the pressure the way we thought we would handle the pressure. We don't really know how much pressure we can take. In fact, it says if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. And we could take that as a negative, or we can take it as a sign that we need to increase our strength, right? If you're fainting in the day of adversity, your strength is small, but you can build up your strength to the point where you can handle any and all pressures that come your way. First pressure I want to talk about is the pressure of decision making. You're going to have to make decisions. That's just part of the job. You're going to have to decide which camp you're going to go to. You're going to have to decide what message you're going to preach. You're going to have to decide who gets to be in leadership. I mean, the pressure of making those, because every decision that you make as a youth worker is under the microscope to some degree, and people judge you based on your decision making. So when you're thinking about making decisions, first of all, prayerfully bring it before the Lord, and then begin to kind of think forward and say, what are the objections to this decision? What objections will I face as part of making it? If you can list all the negatives and the feedback you're going to get, you'll be able to say, okay, I can handle these decisions because I've already thought about it. I've already thought this through. There's a great quote from Tom Kite that says, the only thing that relieves pressure is preparation. I love to tell people, do your homework. And part of the homework of decision making is making your list of pros and cons. It's answering the objections before the objections happen. And once you start boiling it all down and you reach a point of conviction that says, I can make this decision, then you're going to be able to say, look, the pressure comes down and you can start making decisions with confidence. The second pressure I want to talk about is the pressure of performance. If you're in leadership, you're in the spotlight. And sometimes you might feel like an NFL or college kicker. You feel like that certain times during the game where your performance matters more than others. In fact, it matters a lot. For you, this may be preaching or organizing or speaking in staff meeting, any of those things. And you feel like that when the pressure is on you, you get self-conscious and you feel like the game is on the line and that it's all up to you. Let me remind you that you plus God make a majority. The God of all heaven is behind you. You're not doing this alone. You have maybe a team of people that help you. You have student leaders that help you. You're not in this by yourself. I'm for you if nobody else is. By making these videos, I want to encourage you that, listen, you can handle the pressure. Once you realize that you're going to make mistakes in ministry, that should release some of the pressure, right? Because it's going to happen. It's just inevitable. But what that does for you is saying, listen, I can focus then not on my performance, but I can focus on the work that God is doing in me and through me. There's a great quote by Michael Phelps that says, I can only control my own performance. If I do my best, then I can feel good at the end of the day. And really, that's all you can do as a youth worker is control your own performance. You can't control what others think about you. You can't control what your students say, your parents say, but you can control your performance. So I would encourage you, focus on your performance. Get good at what you need to get good at. Be prepared, as the last quote said, and the pressure will begin to subside. Third and final pressure that I want to talk to you about today is the pressure to conform. Now listen, I felt this very much as a very young youth worker, and I still feel some ways about this, but that conforming to me was just selling out, basically. Like, look, if I can't be radical and everybody else is not on my radical level, then listen, you guys are wrong and I'm right, and you guys don't love Jesus, and all of that. And I felt that pressure to not conform, to where it worked against me eventually. Eventually, I became so nonconformist that it put me in harm's way in the sense of the opinions of others. I brought a lot of stuff on myself simply because I wouldn't listen. Listen, you don't have to be contrarian about everything. There's places and times where you have to work with the rhythms of the church, how the church does what it does. And listen, I know that you have convictions, as I have convictions, but not everybody shares your convictions or my convictions. So there's that pressure to conform, and you think maybe, well, this is anti-gospel or anti-radical or however you choose to phrase that. But let me encourage you with a couple of quotes here. First quote is from Gerald Ford. It says, in the age-old contest between popularity and principle, only those willing to lose for their convictions are deserving of posterity's approval. Now, that's one kind of conviction, because we're looking and saying, I am willing to lose my job over this, or I'm willing to take the blowback or take the negative criticism. I'm just going to dig in and dig my heels in over this. And there's a time and a place for that. But let me offer another quote from Daniel Webster. And Daniel Webster says, a strong conviction that something must be done is the parent of many bad measures. In other words, our convictions can be so strong that we are not listening to other people around us. We're not taking a full view of the field, so to speak, to where when we make decisions, when we're under this pressure to do things maybe that collide with our own personal convictions, that we stick so much to our guns that it winds up hurting us and the ministry in the long run. When you're talking about the pressure to conform, weigh that between two things. Weigh your convictions and say, is this a hill that I'm willing to die on? Or do I need to give some way here so that the youth ministry can benefit, so that other people can benefit, that it can't be just about me? That sometimes the strongest convictions are about us and not what is best for the ministry we serve. One final verse I want to leave you with before we wrap this up, and that's from James 1:12. This says, blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. And yes, this is a verse speaking to those that are persecuted, being persecuted for the faith in Scripture. And James is encouraging him, says, look, hang on. The reward of God is coming, the crown of life. But I also believe that there is for you, if you hold on and you begin to work through some of these pressures in a manner that is going to be fitting for you, that you're going to eventually win. You are going to grow in your faith. You're going to learn how to work with others. You're going to learn how to form convictions that are not going to isolate yourself. You're going to learn how to work through these pressures that are eventually going to come. So that is it, guys. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for watching. Thanks for being a part of this. Let me encourage you. You can handle the pressure. Tell me in the comments below, what kind of pressure are you currently facing? What is your pressure point that seems to be weighing down upon you, that you seem like, I can't handle this thing? Leave me a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out. That's it for today, guys. We'll catch you guys in the next video.